Hey there, gang. We are in central Wisconsin, and we are in a small town called Loyal. And we're here to visit the grave of a father and 3 children. A very sad story. An accident that happened in 2018 up in the Apostle Islands. Madeline Island, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Lake Superior, Apostle Islands, but Madeline Island is a big go-to vacation destination. We go back to August of 2018. The family, well, the Frymans were up there. The 5 Frymans, it was husband, wife, and 3 kids. So you have Eric Fryman, you have Carrie, we have the 3 kids, we have Kyla, who's 9 years old, Annalise, who's 5, and little Jansen, little boy, 3 years old. So it's August 30th, 2018. They'd been there, I think, for the long weekend, and it was just family vacation. It was all good. And on the 30th, which I believe was a Thursday, they decided that, or it may have been Eric, I don't know, but the parents decided they were going to take a kayak trip. And they were going to go from Madeline Island up to Michigan Island, which is the next island closest to the north. Now, Lake Superior, guys, as many of you know, can be a very dangerous place. I mean, it's taken down freighters like the Edmund Fitzgerald, right? I've been on Lake Superior. I have some experience on that via boat, and I can tell you that the weather changes like that, and it's big water. It can be worse than the ocean. The irregularity of the waves, the height of the waves, how fast it can all change. And they got in that situations. They were in a 15-foot plastic kayak. It's a big kayak. It wasn't the kind that you sit way in. It was kind of an open kayak with 2 seats. It was designed for up to 500 pounds, I think, 2 people with, backpacks if you're going on some kind of mission, but they decided that they were going to pack the whole family in. So we had Eric in the back, we had Kyla sitting in the middle between the 2 seats, holding little Jansen, 3-year-old Jansen, her little brother, and Carrie, mom, was sitting in the front seat, and in front of Carrie was Annalise, and they set off. And the weather was probably pretty good, meaning that it was fairly calm. And they ended up getting north of Madeline Island, and the wind started picking up, and all of a sudden it really picked up. And it may have been that they were at the point of no return, somewhere out in the middle. It's 3.1 miles from the closest tip to the closest tip, Madeline Island to Michigan Island, so call it 3 miles plus, maybe call it 4 miles probably from where they were navigating. So that's a long way, and on a big lake like that in such a little boat. And as bad luck would have it, the waves just really started picking up worse and worse and worse. And you get up to 3 feet to 4 feet. And eventually the kayak would capsize. And they all had life vests on, luckily, and they could not right the ship. I know Eric, they tried to flip it back over, couldn't do it. They were not experienced at kayaking or any of that, apparently, and that now they're stuck, and now they're in these big waves, and you got a little 3-year-old Jansen, and I mean, I can't even imagine, I remember the kids, my kids that age, and the terror, the horror, the guilt, the Eric was probably saying, what have I done? We're in real trouble now, and they were in real trouble. Although they had the life vests on, the water was cold. Lake Superior, late August, maybe in the high 60s, you're gonna start getting hypothermia in 4 hours. Well, they hung on, and Carrie had her phone. I guess it must have been waterproof, because she was able to get a cryptic call out, 911. It went to Gogebic Sheriff. They couldn't figure it out, though, but they had a ping, but it was just a general ping to Madeline Island. And they, credit them. They did get out there. They did some searching. on Madeline Island. They didn't find anything, of course, but then at some point, I think it was probably 5 p.m., 6 p.m., and Eric decided that he was going to swim for Michigan Island. He probably could see it, the sun's setting, got to go for it. You stay with the kayak, I'll get to the island, and I'm going to take the kids. And he had all the kids with him. He had little Jansen, I guess, on his back. He had holding on to Annalise, and I guess Kyla was swimming alongside. Well, they went off, and there's Carrie by herself, and then she got separated from the kayak, and now the waves are 4 feet. It's just about dark. It's horrendous. She's already suffering from hypothermia, yet she got a text off to her sister, Bobby, and I think it just said 911, and that was it. And that was key, because Bobby happened to know, her sister, that they were going to Michigan Island. She knew what was their kayaking, so she called Gogabek 911, and it got routed through, and next thing you know, it's a big search effort. Credit the searchers, the rescuers. And as you may know, if you're a mariner on boats, as I am, I have the emergency channel on all the time on the big lakes, you know, on big Lake Superior. You're not out there in a boat. You shouldn't be if you don't have a ship-to-shore, real serious radio, and you're always monitoring emergency channel. And the ships, you know, they sent out pan, look for, and I've been in this situation. I had to do a search for a lost windsurfer with other boats right there by Madeline Island, Bayfield, last year. Anyway, this research vessel ends up finding Carrie. She's almost dead, hypothermic. They get her in the boat, and she's still conscious, and she's, "Have you found my husband, my children?" No. Well, they would find them just after midnight, and they wouldn't be alive. They didn't make it. They had all died of, well, they found Eric and the two youngest. They were in their life jackets floating, but they were all three that were passed. Hypothermia. And then at 10 a.m. the next morning, they would find Kyla on the shores of Michigan Island, washed up, and she was dead. So none of them made it, but Carrie did make it. Just if this gets back to the family, Carrie, I feel so bad. Our family, we all send our condolences. I just heard about this story. I was on Madeline Island this July 4th with my son and his girlfriend and the festivities, and then I had heard someone, I don't know, in the conversation. I was like, wow. So I wanted to stop by here and pay my respects, coming from northern Wisconsin, where we live in the summers, to Chicago. My mother-in-law, we've got family situation there with sickness. So I wanted to stop here on the way, and I thought I'd take everyone along so everyone could pay their respects. So let's walk to the grave. It's right on the road here as you walk into the cemetery. It's the first grave that you basically see. So let's walk over there and let's pay our respects. So there it is. What a beautiful monument. And as I drove in on this little road here, it's the first thing you see if you come to the cemetery. Look at that. Fryman family. A happy family, a good family. What a loss to society. So I wanted to stop here on my way home from northern Wisconsin. I've got heading to Chicago here, and I really wanted to come and pay my respects to this family. So, well, there's Eric. This great picture, Eric. You can just see what a nice guy. He was born March 26, 1979. Kyra, December 22nd, 2008. Beautiful. She would be 16. Annalise Marie. And little Jansen. Little guy. Well, they'll forever be young children in heaven. So, just wanted to share this story with you and take you along, because I was coming here to pay respects and take you along. Prayers for the family, and hope Carrie is doing okay. Carrie Ann. Rest in peace to the Fryman family, and see you guys later.